Um, I think the lack of satisfaction of always doing the same thing to please people,
Mm.
like a sort of getting really good in a sort of survival strategy
Okay.
to please other people. And me as a person, I consider myself a good connector.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, I'm somewhere in a relationship between people, and I connect people. That's what I do all the time. But when connecting becomes too much of um, a mental thing, it's
Yeah.
not genuine anymore.
No.
And then it becomes something out there that's not really true to my core virtue anymore.
Yeah.
And that's something I discovered, that at a sudden moment I was so tired of connecting people
Mm-hmm.
and not getting the flow that I wanted, not
Yeah.
getting into flow. Like everything is hard. I had this also this really interesting conviction that if it hurts, then it's worth it. So you have to feel pain to make it worth it.
Hello, Tom. How are you?
Hello, Peter. Doing fine, thank you.
These are special, very special times.
Surely are. Yeah.
So, of course, my first question is, what is the impact of Corona on the things you're doing with your organization?
Well, honestly speaking, I think this is not new to a lot of companies, but it's like we've been through a transformation in 2019. I can elaborate on that, but this year, of course, there's a totally different challenge that forces us to slow down. And there's this I don't know how to say this, but on the one side, I really enjoy it because I cannot start telling tales or something or make up stories. It is what it is, and either you fight it and you go against it and you get really maybe anxious or mad or anything, or you just accept, try to breathe again, because it's the lungs that are challenged nowadays. So why not just get some air and slow down and make sure that, and that's the learning I get, and I think a lot of people around me, um, is not trying to make up what you want to be,
Yeah.
uh, but to really listen to that inner voice that tells you what is the path you need to
Go.
yeah, you need to go really. So
And what do you believe that the world would look after Corona?
huh. Oh, that's that's a major question.
I know.
First, I'm really curious about what the entire climate thing will do, because I'm really curious about the stats within a couple of months.
Okay.
So and what is going to happen? Are we willing to go back to the way it was? I don't think so. If this is business as unusual, maybe it becomes the new normal. So the unusual becomes the normal. So it's a total chaos. But I truly think that if I have meetings now, for instance, business meetings, that I'm really into the living room of people,
Mm-hmm.
children walking around, people coping with the same things. They cannot make up stories or brag about how good they are, whatever. You see the world how it really is, and I think it's a beautiful thing. So the
The shields are going away. The masks are falling off.
yes, exactly, and the touch with nature is just amazing. I think because being locked up, there's for me there's one place to go. About I think a 5 minute walk down here is a park. I think I spend there like 2 hours a day. Um, yeah, it's a totally different perspective.
And you're talking about walking in nature. I mean, I had Jan Bomré also as a guest a couple of episodes ago,
Yes.
and he actually spoke about the fact that if you want to be receptive for new ideas, the best thing you can do is to become quiet and actually walk around into nature. And there, suddenly you will find ideas. For instance, what's his name? Baptiste Pape, who is the writer of The Power of the Heart. He is actually a lawyer from Antwerp. And he was walking into nature, and then suddenly something told him, you should write a book and create a movie about the heart. And he was like, okay. And he did it. Is this also something that resonates with you, walking into nature, that I wouldn't say it changes you, but
Yeah.
there's ideas are sparkling, or the way you look at things change, where you may be stuck at home, look at a certain challenge, and you say, I don't know the solution for this. That maybe after a walk in the park, it
Yeah.
changes your view on things.
Yeah. Surely does. We are nature, so I mean, it's like coming home, and I think the entire thing about the slowing down. There's a lot of let's say Dirk Ulibrand, one of my teachers, calls it like the the spirituality of the wellness spirituality, that we do a lot of stuff to slow down, but a lot of is still, you know, like centered in the head, in the heart. But like the divine touch with the stomach, and the grounding you get when you're in nature, being aligned. I mean, I get this nowhere but in nature. And I consider myself just like a student, because I used to be very mental, and I still am. So, but this is really something that helps me out a lot, because
I find this very interesting, and I think we share this similarity, because and I believe it's the same for you. You are, I would call, a left brainer, so thinking a lot with your brains. What was actually in the past a situation that triggered you to flip that, and because thinking from the brains is really a limited way of living. When you discover that you can use your body and your heart and tapping into that power or intelligence, I mean, that's huge. And for a lot of male, especially in the world we are living in, it's quite uncommon to talk about this. And so what event triggered you to open up or to change your view on that?
I think the lack of satisfaction of always doing the same thing to please people, like a sort of getting really good in a sort of survival strategy to please other people. And me as a person, I consider myself a good connector. Most of the time, I'm somewhere in a relationship between people, and I connect people. That's what I do all the time. But when connecting becomes too much of a mental thing, it's not genuine anymore.
No.
And then it becomes something out there that's not really true to my core virtue anymore. And that's something I discovered, that at a sudden moment I was so tired of connecting people and not getting the flow that I wanted, getting into flow. Like, everything is hard. I had also this really interesting conviction that if it hurts, then it's worth it. So you have to feel pain to make it worth it. And at a certain point, it's just like it was over. I mean, I have a really big medical history. Although I've played basketball at a decent level for 27 years, I think if people would look at my medical record, they would they would be astonished, really. And then I knew this is nothing. This has nothing to do with cultivating something good. This is running away from something that you actually already know. And the first encounter that I really had and that was with nature, was there's a coach that's really one of my teachers. Her name is Ariane Verrijken. And she took me on a solo trip to Switzerland. And there I just unleashed my demons somewhere in the mountains. And it's like I I was a free person when I came back. Like
So,
my voice used to be in my throat.
yeah.
Well, when I came back, it was in my stomach. So I had this really low, very white voice, and people were like, okay, this guy is, yeah, he's in the right spot right now. So that's my first really, yeah.
So with the trip with Ariane, that was really about spending 4 days on your own with no food and drinks, sitting
Yeah.
alone on the top of a mountain, on the top, something like that, eh?
Yeah, it is at a decent level. It's 1,700 meters that you're in the mountains, but I needed to be close to the river
Okay.
because I needed the flow of the water, and it made a lot of noise, but I needed it. So that's where I was. All the other people were down in the mountains below the trees, but exactly it was the I can really recommend it to a lot of people when and we you cannot just fly away or for example you have sorrows, yeah, you open a bottle of wine, or you feel a little tired and you drink a coke or whatever kind of things that you use to avoid
Running
the
away, yeah, of the
pain.
pain.
Yes, and there the power of an empty stomach and only having water brings a clarity I cannot express. It's amazing.
And you broke down?
No, the first day I was a little grumpy. The second day I was mad at everyone, and the third day there was this inner peace, and I didn't feel like I needed to go that way, or like for example go somewhere. The need of I need to go there and back within a certain time frame, it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like a release of the daily rat race or something.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I came back and it was at my pace. So
And I mean, you've been CEO of your own company. First, it was called Velocitas. You started in 2006 about business development. Did that experience with Ariane in the mountains then also triggered you to transform your organization?
yes, it surely did. There was I think it was a phase when the founder, it is still my partner, and I had our own pot. And at a certain point, I decided this is my passion, this is what I want to do. And that's where quite naturally there came a switch of activities and actions we took. And that's a beautiful part about it, because my partner knew it was genuine. He also left a certain space for me to do this. So I'm grateful for that. So yeah, it surely
And what was
changed.
that? What was then the expression of your passion? Can you describe that? What does it then mean? Was it on
Well,
the focus of pure business development, which sounds like a very, yeah, hard way of, yeah, dealing with business, to a more softer way, or how can I describe it?
well, the successes we had back in the days were merely based on the fact that companies who were looking for more customers
Yeah.
came to us, and they made us do the same things. Why these companies did not manage to get more customers.
Yeah.
I'm not talking for every customer, but I was
Mm-hmm.
was most of them.
Yeah, yeah.
We had a lot of fire and a lot of passion, and we wanted to do things right with a lot of young people. But at a certain point, we knew this is no longer our path. We're doing something. We're cultivating our culture. Our DNA is about magic connection. So that's
Mm-hmm.
our purpose. That means that it did no longer fit that we were working for someone who was not present in a meeting. We wanted to work for someone who was present, who knew what he wanted, and then we would help him out and be so so grounded and so around and do things from the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the days, it was more like a really, let's say, a masculine thing. Like,
Yeah.
come on, boosting the business. But that's another lesson of Corona. What does that mean, boosting the business?
Yeah.
We talk about natural growth
Yeah.
nowadays.
That's true.
So natural growth to us, that's maybe we can help you find the business that was meant for you.
Yeah.
But one of the challenges is that you as a person are not just looking for new successes, but are looking for your deeper longing
Yeah.
and the value you create for your market. And if we can make this balance right, then maybe we can contribute in a small way to a bigger collective consciousness.
Yeah.
That's basically the thing.
Now,
Yeah.
isn't it also linked to the fact that, I mean, boosting your business, I don't like that expression either, because it sounds really about getting short-term results by blowing up everything and everyone, especially your people. Whereas you are mentioning it, it's more like running a marathon. And like Simon Sinek is saying, is running or having an infinite game and looking at really on the long term and having indeed that natural growth which is meant for you.
Sorry, can you rephrase your question? Because
that wasn't a question. I was just that
I
was just another view on the fact that you on the fact that I can imagine that a lot of companies are going to ask you, hey, Tom, boost my business. And you're going to answer with, this is the natural growth. You should think long term. You should think playing the infinite game instead of focusing on some short term shareholder value creation. And I think that's the biggest shift. And those, I believe, are the companies who are going to thrive immensely.
Yes. Yes, I totally agree. I totally agree.
Yes.
There's so much choice in the world, and it's so accessible through online and internet. And every time someone wants to do something that already exists and does it from an opportunistic perspective,
Mm-hmm.
then we challenge this, of course, because we all have these models, this business acumen of how do you create a business model? What are appropriate scenarios for a strategy? But it doesn't mean a thing if you don't get the person that is the founder of the entire initiative.
Mm-hmm.
If that is not sound and solid. I give you an example. I had someone who I knew was fond of being connected with people. And the person is actually developing a software hoping to deploy a SaaS model.
Mm-hmm.
And on the one hand, you see the success of a potential SaaS growth. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, you see really the longing of being with people, helping people, mm-hmm. and being like in a human-to-human communication, as we call it. And it's like sometimes it looks like an inner conflict, like what do you choose? What do you really want? Because, okay, maybe there's a path to success, but if the passion does not come from your core, then
maybe you should redefine success.
Yeah, maybe you should redefine success. What is success anyway?
That's a very good question. And it's something that popular media and it's conditioning it. It's something we believe that a lot of money, a big title, big car, a lot of materialistic things, a lot of people working for you, having growth every year 30% plus.
Yeah.
But is that really what it's all about? And I think, these Corona times are going to challenge a lot of people, and especially people or organizations who are taking up the victim role.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's for me not the lesson of Corona. I think you can playing the victim role is the same as running away from it, denying it, putting your head into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And it's now the real leaders will stand up and be shown.
Yeah,
Because they have to make hard decisions and also be creative. And this is now the time.
Yeah, that's something I really find is interesting, because if you are starting to be creative, you can start to build up the new cards house, make something. The lessons I get, for me personally, I'm not going to speak for other people, but the lessons I get is that if I don't stay very close to myself, to my inner voice, then I'm certainly not going to be of any help for other people in my surroundings. Although it looks like it's all an outside in, everything is coming towards me. You can see everything as a threat. And we have people not on the bench, but at home right now. And I have to figure something out myself. But instead of starting to go everywhere with duct tape and try to fix things, just okay. But to start doing things with passion and to continue to begin and
I mean, you don't need to be fixed, Tom. You're already whole and complete as you are, eh?
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of people think, I need to fix this. Maybe you shouldn't fix it. Maybe just looking at in the wrong way.
I totally agree.
Now you're just mentioning that your purpose, your mission of Merluno,
yes,
is actually by enhancing collective consciousness. I know what it is, at least that I have my definition. What is your definition of collective consciousness?
Consciousness from the origin. That means that I think that, to make it accessible, that Sapiens, the book, the famous book. What I like about the book is the fact that he makes the distinction between, you have the imaginary world, he calls it the imaginaire orde, the imaginary, and then he has the absolute. And basically, in the second thing, he refers to nature. That is not negotiable. In the first one, you create mental models, if I use the terms of NLP, to create a belief system that keeps a society together.
Okay. Yeah.
Once you create something else that becomes bigger, maybe people shift from the one imaginary system to the other. And to me, the collective is merely the fact that you go away from the fact that you should be following some kind of societal system, and you start cultivating your inner peace, and there's, like you said, you're already whole, so there is all the potential. So the more people start to find this inner peace, and find the balance between outside and inside. If everybody would do this,
I think the human species is saved.
Yeah, exactly.
On the long term, I think that's the only. That's the only way. Of course, people, because they have such a short lifespan, don't realize how much power they have to contribute to that. Because they think our life is limited, but it's, I think, the only way. Otherwise, just like Corona, you can have all the money in the world, you can have the best doctors, but maybe you can also have Corona and die. So it's up to you. What do you want to do? Collect things, or do you want to really express or manifest the potential which is in you? And I don't think that the Corona thing has hit us hard enough that a lot of people will change. Will people have changed? Some of them, and some of them are going to go back to the old normal. But I also, you just mentioned nature, laws of nature. I mean, a lot of people think linear, like typical in business. We have to add 10% every year. But I think nature is exponential. Look at Corona. If you are not convinced that exponential exists, I mean, in February there was nothing, and in March we're at home.
Yes.
Now, I mean, you started in 2006 your own company, if I'm correct?
Well, it wasn't my company at the time. It was I had 3 partners. Two of them left a couple of years ago. The idea originated from my partner Ben, and he started with the idea of let's do business development in a holistic way.
From that period already.
Yes.
Okay.
Didn't really know. That's what he still says. Didn't really know what it meant. Certainly, when you get spiritual teachers that say that you have an audacity to say that you're a holistic company, do you really know what that means? It's so multidimensional, the word holistic, that it's maybe it was kind of arrogant back in the days, but hey, we're now exploring. I consider myself a pupil. I'm discovering so much that I start to know that I know nothing.
Yeah, that's it.
And then I think that's one of the things that I also experienced the last, I think, 3 to 4 years. Back in the day, I used to go out and do a lot of public talk, public speech, and use certain models that are out there. But the relativity of all these models really got me. At a certain point, I just wanted to go, somewhere in the silence, and just listen and not talk too much, and not advising people when it was not necessary or anything, just and being in this humility of just giving an opinion and not saying that's the truth. Yeah. Maybe my opinion is still maybe a little mental,
a little bit
judging. But if I'm really connecting to myself, then maybe it has some value for you.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of hard if you're in the consultancy business. But yeah, that's the part of the company, actually.
Yeah. And if you would go back to now 2020, if you would go back to 2006, what would you do different?
Oh.
Or you treat everything as a lesson?
I think that the good part was that we always had this ask it culture and not do it culture. There was a lot of openness to experience it, do it, and if you fail, let's rephrase fail. What does that mean? It's just redoing things until something good happens. I think what was different back in the days that business development could have been anything, and nowadays it's narrowed down to really a focus, and I think having a focus as a company has helped me a lot, and that means that people are not attracted to the what, people are attracted to the why and the how. We have a beautiful DNA, but if there would be people in my company who do not like market research or the development of markets or connecting people, then you have a misfit.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm a little more alert to.
Yeah.
That this is something, okay, if it doesn't interest you, who am I to judge what you should do? But do what your inner voice tells you. And I'm going to tell you the limitations of what I can do as a company. Back in the days, there were no limits. But that meant there was not really a ship because it went everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
That's an interesting you just mentioned. What is the difference between now and then of business development? Because for me, that's a term which says everything and nothing, and everybody gives its own definition.
Exactly. Well, since business development indeed, as a matter of fact, was to be seen totally different, and you called it consultancy, people were always lost. I found it really frustrating that my own parents could not even tell what I was doing. There's a lot of people in my generation who have the same problem,
Mm-hmm.
but I always tell my customers and my colleagues, like, if your grandma doesn't understand it, it's not simple enough. So make sure it's the pure simplicity. If you start talking about complex things, maybe you don't understand it yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
I think Albert Einstein
Yes.
had a quote about
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
also.
Yeah. True.
Uh, well, and I think that we rephrased business development, which
Mm-hmm.
has something really masculine, sales driven, to market development, which has to us has like a yin and yang side. That
Mm-hmm.
means you have to know what your market potential is. And what is market potential to us? You as the founder of your company, or as a company, not have to know what your deeper longing is and what you want to bring to the world, where you
Mm-hmm.
can have a certain impact. What value do you bring, and how ready is your market to to
Adapted.
get this value? And yeah, exactly. And what should you do? Where's the potential customers, for prospects, but are your own people ready for that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's this feminine side is more about slowing down and really seeing what you should see, but slowing down. And once you have this deeper insight, then there's our masculine part. That's what we call activation.
Yeah.
And that means we go help you to go get into action. That's
It's
like
a,
the
it sounds really like you have like a kind of a model where it's like be, then do, and then have. Where a lot of people and companies think like do, have, and then be.
yes, that's a nice one. Yeah. The thing is, of course we all want this customer who says, hey, um, bring me back to nature for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all of our customers do this.
Okay.
Sometimes we get a question from a sales manager of a multinational company who is quarterly driven. And then also we have to ask ourselves, what is the greatest value that we could bring this business manager in in this period that could help him have a better insight, um, maybe touch him in some kind of a human way,
Mm-hmm.
and on the other side create a sort of result that fits his needs, and maybe bring something else that might have a positive impact on the way he does things. I mean,
And then potential customers come automatically to you.
but we have a lot of word to mouth, so we have
Yeah.
a lot of people we know. I To give you an example, I'm really proud of a customer I'm working for right now. Um, that is I have to look for the English words, but it's like an atelier protégé, een maatwerkbedrijf, beschutte werkplaats. Help me out, I don't know how to translate
I
it.
don't know, but it doesn't matter.
But this social economy
Mm-hmm.
thing, working for a company in social economy, they want to go first. They have an agreement from the government that they can produce a hand gel.
Yes.
For
I saw it on your Instagram this evening or today.
yes,
That's the company, yeah?
yes, yes. It's Wave Pharma, and it's the beautiful thing about it is that if you ever get the chance to visit this company, you see how proud people are to be of importance when they do things the way they do things, and then you can help them out, and then you can see how you can really get into your network. I'm really proud now that I, after all those years, can have a reach in my network and see how large it is, because I'm actually doing them a favor, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I have honest products.
Yeah.
It helps social economy, local economy. It's a really honest price, and I don't feel like I'm bothering them.
Yeah.
And it gives me. Last week I had last Friday I worked from 5 in the morning to 8 in the evening. That doesn't really sound balanced, but I had so much energy because I was actually doing things from flow, you know.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. So,
but is that also an extension of your natural growth principles? Because it's really, people buy who you are, your DNA, and at the same time, yeah, it's like you said, you're actually giving them a favor. Not selling would actually be a disservice to them.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. So we can have different ways of trying to reposition what a company wants to sell, in trying to cover up the fact that it's being too opportunistic, for example. But there's also a way of inspiring the person in front of you to maybe change his story to something genuine, sell something that really creates value, help him reconsider the value of what he's doing and what he's selling, and then go connect it in a truly genuine way. And that's for example one of the things that why we don't want to be behind when it comes to new channels for example digital marketing and all of this. But it serves one purpose, that's magic connection. So if we cannot have a magic connection with someone, and I try to hack you so you buy something from me, then I'm not interested, although I might miss something in this era. But I'm really out of I don't want these thousands of companies trying to sell them something. I want the right companies I can collaborate with. And maybe that's a huge difference also in our own objective of how do we want to grow as a company. I don't care if we're 20 people or 1,000 people. It has to be natural, and maybe it's organic. Maybe it has to be smaller. Maybe it has to be bigger. We'll see. I'm not going to worry too much about it anymore.
No, it has to fit the purpose, and the like nature is going to adapt in the moment itself what you need to fulfill that purpose.
Yes.
And that's the intention there behind it. That's the difference, because people, that's one of my major lessons, really underestimate the power of intention. Intention, you have the why of a person, correct? But an intention that people are setting, I mean, what's in it for me, or how can I serve you? You can feel that immediately. You feel that when the connection is genuine, you feel that immediately when it's pure. And then you're in some kind of flow state, and then everything is flowing in. Then there is that kind of exchanging energies between two or more people, and then it doesn't cost any energy at all, or any effort, I would call it. Of course, there's action involved, but at the end of the day, you have actually more energy, although you have been working like from 5 to 8. Interesting. Where do you get those ideas? Okay, you mentioned Dirk, you mentioned Ariane, but where did you pick up this wisdom? Because not a lot of CEOs I know speak like this, or think like this, or feel like this.
I think that the common quest for there must be something more that we can bring in the business from my partner and myself. Helped us to encounter people on our path. I remember the one of the first encounters with Wouter Torfs, for example, that he's been in our advisory board for a while. I'm really grateful for that, and it's because we didn't feel, that I think there's a certain humbleness that says like we don't want to be the one teaching others what they should do, but we want to learn from maybe the small group of people that nowadays is becoming a larger group. That sharing this has nothing to do with positions or status, or it has more something to do with, can you see yourself in the mirror, and what kind of a person am I, and do I want to share this in a vulnerable way with the world? I don't know if I'm too conceptual right now, but
no. What I'm going to rephrase it another way, actually, in a question. I mean, what I hear is that there is no ego involved, and that this is actually my next question. I mean, you've been very successful. You're also you're the boss, you're the CEO. How can you stay? What do you do, or what do you be to stay humble? Because getting success, I mean, it's going to also getting you a lot of, I wouldn't call it publicity, but people say, hey Tom, great work, and things like that. How do you make sure, in order to keep in flow? I mean, ego is some form of resistance, correct? So how do you make sure that you stay in this kind of flow? Because once you go into the trap of fear in these days, you go out of flow. How do you make sure you go into flow and you stay humble?
Well, I think that one of the first things is that, and that's what Uli Brandt taught us, is that, and I really experienced this, that, for example, ego is not necessarily the enemy. Sometimes it's a protection mechanism.
Yes.
Wants to take care for us, so it's not necessarily a bad thing that you should push away. You should nourish it sometimes.
Yes.
And, often, really. But knowing when did he calls it, who's at the throne? Is it your core virtue that is at the throne?
Yeah.
Or is it the ministers?
Yeah.
Where the ego and the personality are the ministers.
Yeah.
Internal affairs and external affairs. So if you let your ego rule as if it were your core virtue, then you're not true to yourself. And embracing that core virtue, to me, that is purity. To me, there's a beauty behind every mask I see, although sometimes it's hard because the egos are fighting with each other. But I think the willingness to see others people's essence is the basis for a dialogue.
Correct.
So one of the things that I always do, and to me that's a natural thing, is to try to listen and experience what is behind this other person's mask, even though maybe the first 20 minutes he's talking to me and it's just like fuzzy. But that's maybe once I get this touch, then I get this magic connection. When there's this connection, I feel like I go into a flow. When I'm not in a flow, that's when I feel this person is saying something that is so far away from my core virtue that I'm really stay on my throne, so I don't get my ego to try to, or my personality to start pleasing.
The discussion.
Yes, so I need to make sure that that I know my limits, that I know where to say stop.
Okay. Do you mentally prepare yourself when you go into a meeting?
No. When I mentalize things, I go nuts, because then I forget what I wanted to say.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, do you, I don't know, I would say meditate or something to make sure you're grounded, to have that connection, to come into flow?
Yes, I do some in the morning I do some qigong exercises. It brings like a certain movement. His movement is based on some natural symbols, and he actually helped me to ground a lot, and that I get away from my thinking in my head. So I just to give before the session, you asked me, would you prefer Dutch or English? And I told you that when there was a launch of the new name Merluno, the company, that I had to talk for a lot of, there was a lot of people in the room. There was hundreds of people, and I insisted to be talking English. And afterwards, someone who really knows me for a long time says, you actually cut the bullshit, because in Dutch you go around things and try to cover things up to make sure it's harmonious, but then it's not clear enough.
Yeah.
And English doesn't, it limits you in a way that you have less vocabulary, but you say the things that you want to say.
Or the essence.
Yes.
Interesting. Now, if you, why the change of the name from Velocitas to Merluno? Is there some kind of meaning behind this?
Yes, first of all, that was a great job by our partner Choco. It's a communication company. They helped us through a sound meditation to make strange noises to actually come up with the inspiration of a new name. And that was when Merluno was born. But there's some words behind the name. So mer is like la mer. It's flow, it's water. Uno is unity, the oneness, the wholeness. Luno is the moon, is the feminine energy. And Merlin is the crazy wizard.
Yeah.
And the magic connection, that's the metaphor of our name, is the fact that the magic is not the magic you see in Disney movies, but it's the magic of wondering about the little things and being to wake up your inner child and look at things and to wonder, to really meet people in the way it was meant to be, instead of going with an idea of someone
and judge them or have an assumption.
Exactly.
If you would go, you're now 40 plus.
I am?
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm 38.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
30 plus. This thing I'm going to cut out. If you're going back in time with a DeLorean and you're 18, and the Tom of now is meeting the Tom when he was 18, and that Tom is standing in front of a university or high school or whatever you studied, what are the 3 things that you would advise him to your younger self?
Okay. Don't start running around trying to prove something to someone that doesn't exist. I'd say to see your body as your temple, since if there is something divine, maybe the universe, maybe nature, if we were granted a body, that means someone or something decided we have a reason to live. We're not a ghost. We're embodied into a body. That makes you a spiritual being. That means that if you do not honor your body, and to me that's my medical record that I built up in those several years, then you're actually destroying something beautiful. That's another advice I would give myself. And the third one thing would be, it's like, try to listen or go into stillness and try to listen. And if you get too many advisors, you get indecisive.
In the what?
So you get indecisive. You're not gonna be able to decide because you have too
Okay.
much
Yeah,
noise.
indeed. Yeah.
But in the stillness comes a certain clarity. How many people go into stillness? A lot of people don't like it because it's too confronting or something. I've been surrounded with a lot of noise during my first decades, let's say.
And does that mean that you had to let go of people?
Knowing myself, letting go of people would not be like a hard
No.
or something. It would really be something like I'm gonna walk away in silence, so until it disappears.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, a lot of people that haven't been in my life for 20 years have come back since a couple
Yeah.
of years. And I'm talking about more than 5 people. To me, that's a lot. People I haven't seen in more than 20 years who are really like there was something deeply rooted back then
Mm-hmm.
and it all came back. And now it seems like I have this small inner circle that I really cherish. I really know a lot of people. I can see now I can see what the reach of my network is. But my inner circle, that's special. That's really special.
Now, are there any role models that that you admire or inspire you?
Huh. Role models.
Like role of persons, I mean.
Back in the days, of course, and now is the series on Netflix about Michael Jordan.
Yeah, of course, as a basketball player. Yeah.
That guy was like Peter Loridon called it. We can see the series now as if God was writing his Bible for any basketball player or most of the basketball players. That would be an argument. Back in the days, that was a serious example to me. Then again, when I came back from college basketball, my dad sat down with me and told me like, okay, Tom, so we all know you're not Michael Jordan. So what are you going to do with your life? It was back to normal. Another person who has been there all my life, really all my life, it's out of the ordinary. And one of her albums is called No Ordinary Love.
Oh, Shade or Sade.
Sade.
Yeah. Fantastic music, fantastic singer. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes. Every time I put this music on and there's a colleague in my car, they think, they were like, what is this kind of sexual music you put
Well,
on? But
it's the best of the 80s.
yes, to me,
Especially the live versions. They're tremendously great.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Yeah, sure they are. And
And business / esoteric, spiritual.
I'd have to think about that. I think there's been there's been one person really close to me in my life that's been an inspiration for a long time. He's actually a university professor, and it touched me in a way that he always knew there was more. So his entire world was built on books. So he read about everything until he noticed, and it's not been a long time, that he actually knows he doesn't know a lot. So the best thing he can do is to be a servant, to pass experience and knowledge to other people, but not to be like 98% of the professors he knows. And that's also a really an inspiration to me.
Okay.
And then I think there are several examples of people who inspired me. If you say role models, I could have prepared myself for that.
No, 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 no. I like it from the gut, from the heart. I mean, although I don't like the prepared stuff. Now,
Yeah.
within 10 years, who is Tom Dekkers? Then you're 40
um,
plus.
then I'm 40 plus. Yes. um, First of all, a father that has enabled his daughter to be a free person and to not feel cut in convictions that would have this person fighting for her entire life to try to prove something that is not her battle or something. That's really important to me. So I have a 14 months year old daughter right now. That with what I'm doing with what I call matchmaking, connecting people. It's like the baseline of Nokia in the 90s. That connecting people comes from a true place, a true from the essence. That hopefully I contribute to people that are doubting other people. That through connection, that I can bring back people in their relationships. I'm not responsible for that, but I know I can have a big contribution. And instead of polarizing and dualizing thing, which is happening enough, I think, is to bring people back together and to make them look or maybe wonder a little bit what is the essence of the other person. Maybe I can look behind the mask, get the true value of someone.
And look at the potential of the other person.
The potential, yes, yeah. The potential, in a way, it's already there. So
yes,
if we call, that's what when we say development, we also say like developing is not adding layers; it's actually peeling until you get to the pure essence. So that yeah.
And last question. But it's still a crazy dream for you to do or to be, and it has to be crazy, yeah? Like playing in a movie, or I don't know, playing with the Harlem Globetrotters. That's what they called, because I also played basketball when I was very young, but not at such a level as you, because then I discovered the guitar. But what is a crazy dream for you, Tom? Well, a crazy one, eh?
A crazy dream. Oh.
Moving to New Zealand.
I must say I don't have this materialistic longings or something. So I think it would I think it would be merely something about not being dependent anymore of um, um, being totally independent. And independent, I mean
Non-attached.
non-attached, and in the meanwhile connected. Like being this pure person, my dream would be to find my purity, which is my core virtue, that I can connect to everyone in such a pure way that I don't feel like I have to prove something anymore or take responsibility for other people's decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And being totally free. Actually, I think maybe that's the thing, the feeling of freedom. And I'm not talking about a financial freedom of that's interesting, but the day that I
So
cherish
it's
that
really
everything
about the I amness.
Yes, I see myself on a long journey and experiencing the freedom that all is good, we are one, that's, to me, that's the ultimate thing.
It's a nice one, man. It's a nice one. Is there anything you want to share that we did not touch or talked about?
Oh, I maybe share that that this period is sometimes destabilizing myself. So the Corona thing, and that when asked for example, an opinion or a chat, that the only thing I can do is trying to be as pure as I can be, but to also testify that I do not manage every day to feel stable. There's a lot of times that the last couple of weeks, that I woke up with a sore back. So, and then I had a meditation, and then I felt better. And but I'm on the road. I'm really on the road. So I think that's what I want to share is that the only knowledge that I can share is the purity that I can bring from who I am.
No.
And I don't want to be the person viewed as that guy's an opinion leader or something.
Yeah.
I don't care. Or whatever.
Yes, I get it. Yeah. It's how do you say it? It's I think it's the opposite of being an opinion leader. It's really being non-attached in some kind of form. And I mean, you're not trying to be perfect, fitting in some kind of model which society is asking you to be. But it is what it is, and you stay pure to yourself, and you know that you don't know. And exactly. You are walking the path, and you're discovering the path as you're walking in it. And the same, because you see yourself as a whole person, you can connect with that other person in who you are and who they are, and therefore in that connection. And sometimes this means that that other person, their expectancy, I wouldn't say will not met, but it's going to be pure, but it's not going to be perfect.
Exactly.
Tom, I want to thank you. I'm very grateful for this very special conversation.
Thank you for having me.
And I wish you and your loved ones a good health and all the best on your path. And see you next time.
It's mutual, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.